What's up, y'all? Thank you for coming to Your Yes Is Needed podcast. On today's guest, I have one of my own pastors here on today's show, Pastor Ronda Payne. And so the reason why, before I had asked her to come to the podcast, I asked her if we can talk about something specifically. And the reason why I want to talk about this subject is because I'm seeing and I've seen the numbers. I'm seeing how in the minority culture, when it comes down to leadership, there's a lot of burnout, or there's a lot of those just that are leaving the leadership position. And so, though there's a good rise coming back up again, I wouldn't is I asked you before, am I off limits? Can I go in all in?
Go in.
All right. So for those that don't know, this is actually this is a time during the time I had left the church, and I left the church is because I knew there was people there that were going to use my lifestyle as bow and arrows for target my pastor, which is her mom, and so I left quietly, and that's for another day. So, however, during this time frame, which was 17 years, when I left to go to the Navy, and all I knew is that she had started a school, like she had started a daycare, and I did hear about how big it got. She had like a whole building, a whole school, a basketball team. This woman was banking. She was what's that? Michigan's what is it? Michigan Drive. What is it on Chicago?
What, downtown Michigan
Yeah,
Avenue?
Michigan Avenue shopping. I mean, this girl was like banking, and she was driving all these cars. And I was like, okay, all right, man, she's doing good, dog. And then suddenly it went downhill. But I wasn't here for that. But I'll share this part. When I did come back, I know that some of the things that she was delivering, she was so hurt from it because she was just so angry. And though verbally she was saying that she was healed, I'd be like, dog, like I'm going through some hurt right now. Like I can hear it, dog. And so, and I think now God has really been exposing you even more to the point that he had to take away some more things away from you until you had to see it's still in you. And I wanted to discuss this because I think too many times when we don't follow our instructions or we don't let go when we're supposed to, we that bitterness stays in us for a very, 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 very long time. And you'll never have the desire to want to help people again. And so can you please tell me, and remember, we only got 30 minutes, so this is the free version. Can you just tell me the quick version of how far you went up and where was the turning point and why did you make that turning point to where you became where you're at now?
Okay. Well, what happened is I was just in a good season. Before you know it, I ended up having I had a lot of money. I had ended up having so much money.
Why did you have a lot of money? They don't know.
Opened a school. I had opened a school already, and then all of a sudden, just for sake of not even a good business idea, it just blew up. I ended up with 175 kids. I had 8
and
buildings.
How many employees?
I had 22 employees.
And 8 buildings?
I had 8 buildings.
And
my bank account,
students.
I was running $80,000 a month. Chase Bank used to come and pick my deposits up from the school, so I didn't have to come to the bank.
Mm-hmm.
I would buy cars cash. I would pay people. I was paying employees that should have had minimum wage. I was paying them 40 grand a year to pretty much do nothing. I just was just employing everybody, just doing all this other stuff. And in the meantime, I'm sinking at the same time. I had basketball teams. The Homeland Security gave me clearance to bring students from all over the world. So I had students from Poland and Italy and Croatia and Serbia play basketball for me. Basketball teams, I'm certified through the NCAA, accredited through the State Board of Ed. You name it, I had it all. And then one day, it was like it was all gone. But it didn't start there.
Okay. So, and also, if you're okay with it,
I'm there.
can you also know that during this good season of yours, that the people that you attracted as far as relationship, and then the people that came to help your organization or team, and what led you to make a really different decision that you did not, that wasn't even you wouldn't have done it if someone didn't ask you to do it?
The biggest thing that I did not do before going into this season, I did not recognize the fact that I had done a lot of trauma bonding with people, that out of their trauma, I became their hero.
Oh, you better speak it.
So I didn't bond with them because they had anything to offer me. I bonded with them because they were broken.
Woo!
They came to me with a story, and I was one that could help them. So it was already a one-sided relationship. One was going to be given and the other was going to be taken. And they did their part and I played my part. If you're codependent, you're normally going to draw people that you, quote unquote, feel that you need to help. And hey, and at that point, they feel in their lives that they're broken. But what happens is when they come to you with their story, depending on how you respond to their story, makes a determination of whether you're going up or whether you're going down.
Correct.
So when everybody brought to me their issues, I didn't respond to, well, what can you do about it? Or what did you do to get yourself into this? I responded, let me help you. Let me save you. And as of last week, because of all of that, I realized that I really did not know how to disconnect. So I've been in therapy. I actually went and signed up for therapy because I didn't know how. I am a born again believer. My spirit is willing, but my flesh is weak. My soul is my mind, will, and emotions. People know how to tap into your emotions. They know how to do things. And if you don't know how to set boundaries and things, you will operate your business and everything by your emotions. So everything I did, I made an emotional response to trauma.
Correct.
So when I looked up, I realized it wasn't them that needed to be fixed. It was me that was broken.
Because you had the resources to fix it.
Exactly. I had the resources to fix it. I did everything out of my brokenness or during my brokenness to get everything that I needed that would be able to fix problems. But I had not learned how to not respond to people's trauma. I didn't know how to accurately respond to it. Some people and then when I ended up getting into a trauma situation, like you said, you heard the bitterness that was starting to come out of me and things like that. Who responds to mine? So I did all of that, but then I get angry because those broken people couldn't fix it. So that's when I realized I need help. I don't know how to disconnect. And if I don't do something about it, I'm going to go all the way back up and end up in the same situation again, responding to people's trauma. I realized that was the only thing that I did wrong. Rhonda, when somebody comes to you and they come to you not saying, hello, how are you? What can I do to help you? But let me tell you what happened to me. Let me tell you about my life.
Right. And
let me tell you what
I'm so glad that you can relate to this, because I had someone be like, hey, this is this person's season of depression. And I thought about it for a second. I was like, we are bracing ourselves for a season. Like, no,
right.
like I know it's hard to believe how much I've overcome, but the amount of work that I have to put in for all of my seasons,
Yeah,
because like it's just as strong in my life as as I know it doesn't look like it, but it's because I'm not living it right now. But
yeah,
it's like it's just as strong. It's
yeah,
just as strong. Like
yeah.
I don't even know if this is a fair comment, but I would say the devil loves me. And so, but I can't do things that's going to invite the devil back in.
Right.
So
And yeah, that's
we,
what
we
happened with me.
we have to be careful wanting to be a hero all the time. So
Right.
you understood where you were at with the parents at the school, and you created programs that you would have never signed up for in the first place, but it was for them, and that was the downfall of losing everything.
Everything.
And then
Everything.
at the same time, though, at the same time frame, you were also in a relationship that wasn't uplifting to you at all.
No.
And can you please get into details, if you don't mind, the name callings that you were called while you were going through a savior mentality?
Oh, you know what? People went so far as to call me a know-it-all. They were I was judgmental. I looked down on people while I was writing checks. Now, that's the thing. So I'm writing checks and I'm saving you from being evicted from your home or losing your car, but I'm your dog. I think I'm better than other people. You and your child think you're better than other people. You think that you don't mess up. But then I would write this check and I would go home and cry. Lord, why am I writing this check and why am I helping these people? And they're doing this. But I didn't know how to disconnect from it.
Hmm.
I didn't know how to disconnect, even in the fact that I was in a relationship and the guy said that I was a slave girl and all kinds of stuff. And then the greatest part that caused me to really start researching narcissism, I was called a narcissist. And I was like, well, let me see what that is. And that kind of just opened up the door for the
See,
very
you
place that I'm
understood
in.
that. Yeah, you understood that
Yeah,
terminology. I didn't know none of these terminologies. I didn't know none of the behaviors, but I started seeing a pattern. And that's when I was
right.
like, wait a minute, but like, can you imagine, imagine how many years it took for to recognize a pattern, like 7 years. And
Yeah.
it's like, man, I wish I had this material before. So what if, like, would I have listened? Would I have like read it? Would I have paid attention? Would I have recognized it? Like, I wouldn't know those answers now, but
You know what? I would say this. And because I didn't know what a narcissist was, I didn't even know the name until I was called one. I was like, well, if you're going to call me a name, I at least need to know what it is. That's what caused me to research it. But I would say this, with all the materials that were available, had you not been in that situation, it never would have been important. It, it
right,
wouldn't it wouldn't have it wouldn't have taken first precedence over anything. So until I
right.
started falling into that category, and until I started noticing these backward steps where before I could fall on my face and I would bounce back, I was trying to find out why was it this time the bounce back was taking too long. I was very
Mm,
resilient, but this time the resilience was not working. And what I realized is this is that I did not with me. I had enough for me. I was already going through the healing process. But it's
hmm.
almost like you getting shot while you're still bleeding, but then you see all these people around you, they're shot, but you may be really wounded bad, but you're going back and somebody may just have a nick on their finger or a nick on their leg or something like that, and they're laying there in pain. You're the one that's really hurting really bad. They only have a little bit, but you go to save them.
Hmm.
And then you're piling them all on your back while you're bleeding out.
Hmm.
They get to safety, but now you're diminished of all of your nutrients, your blood. Now you need a transfusion or you're going to
Right,
die. But
right.
there's nobody
It
who's in the process that you save that's willing to give you blood.
it really takes a lot of transparency to overcome this people pleasing and this
Yeah.
savior mentality, because you have to be like I don't think there's no medication. I don't think there is
No.
I don't think there is anything out there except for a level of transparency of why you need to save people,
Yeah.
knowing that you're over here making excuses for people, and then in the long run you're actually making them worse.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you don't see it like that because you just see that what you're doing is what you're supposed to do, like you call it trauma bonding.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's, a part of your codependency is because it's something in you that's broken or it's missing, and or you didn't learn how to communicate well, where you didn't need to have this savior mentality. And a lot of times with pioneers, you have a savior mentality,
Yeah.
unfortunately. You see the problem. And I remember this, I don't know how much time I have, but I remember when I really started realizing that something was wrong. I was watching The Surreal Life one day, and this lady was on there talking about she had a husband that ended up dying. And well, she had a father that died. Now, this is what happened. The father had his own business and he was working at a construction site. The mother called. The father didn't answer the phone. So the mother got the little girl together, went to the construction site, noticed that the dad's car was there. So she called. Dad did not ring. Didn't answer. Asked the people on the construction site. They said he's in the trailer. So the mother and the daughter are at the trailer. And right away, the mother she stops. She doesn't go in. She's waiting because she doesn't know what she's going to see on the other side. The little girl, about 10 or 11 years old, looked up at the mother and out of her own mind, basically says, somebody's got to do something. Rather than the daughter wait for the mother to make the decision, the daughter goes in ahead of her and finds the dad dead. Right then and there, she began to say, I need to save people. Had she waited for her mom to go in, would she have saved? Had a savior complex.
Right.
Sometimes as a child, we'll look, my mom went through a lot. We'll look and we'll see our parents going through things and we want to see how we can fix it, but our little minds can't do it. So what do? We grow up and saying, I never want to feel that pain again, or I never want to see those people in that pain. And rather than us give them an opportunity to make a decision to fix their problem, we see that they have a problem. We feel that they're not moving fast enough to fix their problem.
There you go.
So we go and
that's
offer
exactly what it is
to fix it for them, rather than just
like you're not moving fast enough. Like your process is not it. Like I have the answer, and that's a very dangerous drug to feed
very
people. Dangerous.
And so what it does, it feeds our ego.
It does feed our ego. And with the little bit of time that we have left so far, I think we're good. I want to lead into next, and I think this is something that a lot of people can relate. When you lost everything, right? And after having a big heart, as we love, as us empaths, taking time, like as our ego empaths love to say, as our big hearts, our heart on our sleeve. I've done everything for people. I did this, and this, and that. And I've seen people do that. I've heard people do that. And I ask God, please don't let me be one of those people. If I need to do this, then let me stand as tall as I can. And it's hard. I'm not gonna lie, it's hard. It's hard, especially when you're a pioneer. It's hard. And so, especially when you need the money, it's harder. Right. It's harder. So, please be, if you're willing to be open and honest, what happened after you lost everything? Where did your mind and heart go to?
The first of all, I went to anger. Now, this is the thing. My mom had told me something just recently. And she told me at a time, I guess God revealed, let her see it when a time when I was ready to receive it. She said, you were victimized, but you're not a victim. You were victimized. All that stuff happened to you. It did. People did wrong, but you're still not a victim. So I was in a position to receive it because I realized nobody asked me to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the thing that hurt me more than anything. You may tell me I did all of this. A lot of it wasn't appreciated. Now I have nothing, but yet I'm not a victim, but yet I was victimized. Yeah, you were victimized. You did all of this. So now you've got to take to work to pull yourself back together to be a victor and not a victim. But I was so angry. And she kept saying, do not get bitter. Do not get bitter. And I'm telling you, the worse, the more that I ended up having to try to depend on people who couldn't give what I gave. Where I could give 5,000, somebody may be able to give $5. And I had to dance for that.
I can give you $5.
Yeah. Well, I had to dance for that and be so appreciative. I had to learn how to receive in a position where it seems like I was more humiliated rather than it being humbling. Humbling is when you do it on your own. Humiliating is when you're just broken down and you got no other choice.
And for those that don't know her, this is their first time meeting her. She's also going through all this as a pastor.
Yes.
And still has to face the same congregation that she helped.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm asking her to share this, because when we don't follow our instructions, it doesn't lead nowhere.
Yeah.
And
it doesn't.
So, and this is one of those things, like bitterness is real, man. It took over my heart. It whooped me. I didn't think I was ever going to be in a position to help people ever again. I was that angry. But please, I wanted to share that because you weren't given a chance to breathe almost.
No. And still not. I'm coming out of it. And the biggest thing that I look at more than anything, redemption is real. Redemption is real. But the worst thing to be is in a position of redemption with the same mindset that got you in the trouble.
Okay, thank you. You know what? Like, it's kind of like I had this conversation with someone. It's kind of like a person that was formerly alcoholic and they're sober but not in recovery.
Right.
That's not gonna work. It's a real thing. It's a real thing.
Because you're doomed to repeat the same thing. So when I realized that I was coming into another season of restoration and redemption, I realized it wasn't the people that were the problems. It was my way of dealing with the people. So my mind, will, and emotions is what God gives us, is our soul that allows us to live in the earth realm. So I had to find a counselor, a therapist that specialized in cognitive behavioral therapy and trauma.
I just posted that today.
Yeah, and that's what's been going on. It's not the people's fault. I called for them out of my brokenness.
You coddled
them. They only responded. So I can't be angry, but I need to heal this part of my life. Other than that, I'll be right back in the same position.
I like how you used the word. I like how you used the word responded.
Yeah.
Because there are certain people that won't come up to me, and it's not that I'm not approachable. It's that I won't respond to your coddling.
Yeah. Because you're not giving that energy out there.
No,
they're not on your vibration.
I can't go back there. Yeah, I will survive.
Yeah. And if it's already in you, if you already have that restraint, and if you've already set that boundary or whatever it is, they're not going to cross it. They don't even have the signal. It's like you got two different radio stations. You're 106.3 and they're 102.7. It doesn't mix. But when you got trauma that you have not healed from, you'll keep drawing people with trauma. Only their trauma looks different from yours. One becomes the rescuer, the one is being rescued. But the worst part about it is the one that's being rescued is angry because you're rescuing them. They need to come out of their trauma too. Our job is to be healed so we can help give them ways to help them heal. You know what? If you got a nick on your finger It is not probably meant for me to bandage you up, but I can lead you to where the band-aids are.
Correct. And can I also say sometimes, right? We have to be careful always trying to be codependent
Yes.
and trying to save people, because there are some people that we are meant to help, but because we're so
Yes.
disappointed by the people that we were not supposed to help,
Exactly.
now we question everything. And now
Exactly.
it's like, what do you want? And you
Yeah.
have to be careful. You have to
Yeah.
be extremely careful that you don't get caught up into that. And I think I'm grateful for the career that I have for right now, that I can point out like what people need and want by their intentions, because that book, it goes back to my intentions. The
Yeah.
intentions exposes everything. And I had shared this once with someone. For every one person that you meet, one of them will give their yes.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
know you can relate because you've dealt with lots of people and you've helped
Yes.
lots of people. And so if you do the mathematically, that's 1,200 people in a year for 12 people.
Yeah.
So if you really want to be sharp with your discernment, if you really want to help people, out of 1,200 people, how do you know which one's the 12?
How are you going to know how anybody is anything? You make decisions out of the healed part of you
Boom.
rather than the broken part.
The
You'll
broken
know right
part will
off.
save the 1,200 people.
Exactly. The healed part will save the right people, and then they'll go save others
There you
because
go.
they'll grow. You'll see their growth. You'll see everything. But the ones that you heal out of your hurt, it's almost like a leech. They'll suck everything out of you and drain it out. They'll never grow.
And so that's what happened with your business. And so that was not in your control. You lost it. But with
Yeah.
your relationship, like, how were you able to get out of it, since it wasn't something that you were able to lose, since that person was not willing to leave because you were a good supply?
And you know what I did? I became like attracts like. Whatever it is, no, it's like yin and yang, light and dark, or whatever. Moth to a flame. When I took and blew the flame out, the moth couldn't find me.
So
The reason why,
how'd you blow out the flame?
number one, I started studying what drew the person to me in the first place.
Oh, okay.
Then I started working on that part. I didn't work on them. At first, it was all about pointing a finger at them. But I realized they were only responding to a call that was on the inside of me. If I change the phone number, if I change the address, the person won't be able to find me. To this day, it was easy release, and I can talk to that person to this day with no problems. Because, and it was a narcissist. You know why? Because when I changed me and I became firm in who God created me to be, and I started changing my mind, and I was not so busy trying to fix or hurt. Oh, was I angry? Oh, I cursed that person for years. Cursed them for years until I had to call and apologize. Just this year, I realized you only showed up to the call. You were only doing what was on the inside of you.
Like a
It could have
party,
been
like a
you or
party you
anybody.
knew, like a party you
It
knew.
knew. I knew.
Yeah.
I knew. Even being in it, I'm like, I drew you. I drew you. I drew you out of my disappointment, out of my pain, out of my hurt. Now it's bad that you're that type of person, but you needed to heal too. So two broken people were drawn together.
It's like the
Because
blind
that's how
leading the
it works.
blind.
Yeah. And that's how it worked. But each one of us had our own part. His part was to do this. But now, guess what? I believe he's trying to heal. And with a type of healing that he may be going through, guess what type of person he may want?
A healed person.
A healed person. But I'm not the one. I'm just not the one. But it's just the fact that I knew that I was healing because I can see that person to this day and don't have a problem with them.
You know, it's funny. Like I really had someone in my life that I felt like was very motivational and
Yeah.
inspirational. I mean, their stories was all the good stuff that I wanted to read. But when we were both in our very toxic relationship, we had so much in common. We were
Yeah.
like, man, like we're like best friends. We had so much. Oh my God, we had so
Yeah.
much in common. But when
Your
I left,
dysfunction brought you together.
correct. When I left that dysfunction relationship, we're no longer friends.
That's
And I
exactly.
I was like, man, like for real, like I thought you were on top of your stuff. Like you sounded good, but now I realize we have nothing in common.
Energy
It's
cannot hide. Energy
mm-hmm,
doesn't hide. You can dress it up and everything. I tell anybody this, even with me being hurt and disappointed and everything, if I came into your life out of my brokenness, it's nothing wrong. It's something wrong with you.
mm-hmm.
I'm that piece to that brokenness in you. You can dress it up. You may have all the money and everything. But if the unhealed me is with you, it's because there's something in you that's not healed.
Mm, that's good. So with five
Yeah.
minutes left, for 5 minutes left,
Okay.
right? I really want you to talk to leaders, pastors, people that feel discouraged or feel that they feel some sort of guilt if they are like have to be the bad guy in certain
Yeah.
situations. Is it worth it?
I will say this, it's worth it. I will tell you why. Everybody goes through a season of testing.
Mm,
Everybody's going through it. Any organization you start or anything, there must be a season of testing. Your season of testing you're either going to be made or broken during that time.
ooh,
There's going to be a season of rest that you'll have on the other side if you can make it through the season of testing. It is all worth it. Your greatest testimonies and your greatest outcomes come after great testing. After Jesus was tempted for 40 days through the wilderness, he came out with a season of peace, only to lead him to the cross 3 years later.
mm,
Because everybody has a season. You're going to have a cross. There's no crown if there's no cross. If you want all good, you're not cut out for leadership. If you're at your worst in your leadership position right now, seeing like you're attacked on every side, begin to ask God, what do I need to do? Oh, I'm ready to go for the greatest glory is about to come out of this because I'm going through the biggest test. It's worth every bit of it. And I never thought I would have said that until I started healing.
mm-hmm.
It's worth it. Everything you're going through, Zenaida, is worth it.
Yeah.
It's something
So
bigger.
I I was sharing with my team the reason why I no longer want to become a savior is because everyone followed, including you. You don't even remember half the stuff you sent me, and we talked so much on our was too far to go back to find out
Right.
that video you sent me. It was just so nonchalant. This video that you sent me of this pastor calling everyone out. I was like, oh, I like him. He was like, no one talks about mental health. No one. I was like, does she know what she sent me? Like, and you
Yeah.
don't you don't remember who this person is. And I was like, and so I the reason why I am so adamant I'm following my instructions because everyone followed their instructions to where I'm at right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the savior, no one's savior mentality got me here. In
Right.
fact, it left me over there. And so as much as sometimes it sucks and sometimes it hurts and sometimes I think it's unfair that I have to do it, um it is really the greatest blessing
Yes.
of my life.
Yeah.
And the
Yeah.
sucky part always sucks,
Yeah.
you know.
And one thing you always learn this about the savior complex, it leads you and it dries up your resources and your compensation. So
That's when I
if we
started to
ever
realize,
decide, if we ever decide that we want to go and rescue somebody, remember, You can go from making $0 to $80,000 a month, and that person you decide to save without being asked or anything could be the very cost of you losing $80,000 a month.
That's crazy. That's wild,
Bingo.
but it's true. I've
Yeah.
heard, I've seen it. I've seen it.
I was an MC Hammer of the school. I was MC Hammer all day.
So our time is up. Thank you so much for coming to this podcast and being transparent and
Thank you
and sharing your
for inviting me.
testimony. And I hope this helps many people. Do you want to share your Instagram and your TikTok?
Is it Meepa 1 2? I don't know what I don't know what it is. I just get on it. I think it's Meepa 123 1234 MEPA 123. I think. And my TikTok is Miss Ronda.
There we go. There you go. Ronda.
Yes.
All right. Thank you all for listening. Have a good night.
Bye-bye.